Hi. Hello, everyone. How's it going? My name is Matt Demers. We are going live with what I think is the first tea stream ever to go live on Twitch. And tea is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I'm a big fan of it. Basically, I started drinking tea, I want to say in high school. I actually started with Arizona green tea. And many of you guys will know this if you live in kind of the States, I guess, or Canada. Or I don't know. Maybe it's available year-round or around the world. It's basically these 99-cent big cans of green tea, and it's just full of sugar and terrible. And it's more of a soft drink than anything. But what that turned into was me actually drinking, actual tea. So what I wanted to do is, the more I talked about it with people, the more I kind of, someone says in the chat, you could say we're making history tea. I saw that Twitch was making this awesome creative stream, so I decided, you know what, let's try to do something with tea on it. And here we are. So, this is going to be the first episode of Tea on Twitch. Again, my name's Matt Demers. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about a tea that is actually really expensive, and probably the most expensive that I own. It is a very high quality Japanese tea called Gyokuro, and I have it right here in a pouch. I have it from David's Tea. Right now, I'm going to go through... I actually made a PowerPoint presentation. A whole PowerPoint presentation on telling you about Gyokuro. So, we're going to jump over to my browser here. We're going to go into presentation mode. I want to make sure this works, because obviously... Loading? Sweet. Awesome. I'm going to allow it to go into full screen mode. Perfect. So, this worked. So... Tea on Twitch episode 1, we're talking about Gyokuro Yamashiro. So this is from David's Tea. You can find it at davidstea.com, and it's probably one of the more expensive teas that they have. My name's Matt Demers, and I'll be teaching you a little bit about tea in general today. So, before we start, we're going to go over some concepts, and obviously these kind of concepts are pretty important to just like learn a little bit of the language and that kind of stuff. We're going to learn about umami, and umami is a taste. It is like salty, sweet, bitter, and sour. It can be emitted by any of the taste buds in your mouth, and essentially it's kind of this fifth flavor that has kind of emerged over the last little while as more of an accepted kind of thing that more people are talking about. So what you can you can't really describe the taste very well. Like, try imagine discussing what sour is to someone who has no idea what it is. So it's commonly referred to as kind of a savory, and you'll find it in things like MSG seasoned foods, like Chinese food and that kind of stuff. Tomatoes, soy sauce, Parmesan cheese. Essentially, like, imagine eating Parmesan cheese by yourself. Imagine eating it like on its own. And then that's what umami is, essentially. It's just like a tanginess, it's a richness, it's like a savory. It's not something that it tends to overpower most foods, and that's why, like, most of the things that I listed there are things you add on top of food, like ketchup. Ketchup is a huge source of umami. It rounds out flavors, but it doesn't dominate it. So it's meant to be kind of like a savory, thing that rounds out the rest of it. Wow, I did not finish this. It can be characterized as smooth and slightly sweet, which is something that we're going to find in Gyokuro. So, tannin. Tannin's also really important, and if you drink wine, you'll know a little bit about tannin. Tannin is essentially a molecule that exists in plants, and how it interacts with a lot of other things inside the plants affects how it tastes. So normally what tannins are brought up in, both in tea circles and in wine and coffee. They tend to have a very bitter flavor, and they're separate from the bitterness that comes with caffeine. It's kind of like you are getting bitter flavors, but you're getting them from a different source. So something that is bitter can be bitter without being caffeinated. This is usually more in black teas, which we're going to be probably discussing later on in other Tea on Twitch episodes, but a general kind of rule of thumb is that more oxidized tea usually equals more tannin, and oxidization kind of determines like a scale of tea, where you're going from white to black teas, and the more oxidated it is, the more it kind of is farther towards the black tea side of things. Lighter teas can taste bitter, but not from tannins, so it's kind of just like again, a rule of thumb. So going into today's tea is Gyokuro Yamashiro from David's Tea. It's commonly regarded as one of the highest quality and highest grade Japanese teas there are. The name Gyokuro roughly translates into jade dew, based on the color of the tea once it's brewed. It's like a nice green, yellow-green kind of color. It's very calming. It's not quite as light as, say, a white tea, and it's not quite as green as a green tea. I know it sounds really weird, but you'll see once we actually get to brewing it. It's typically brewed at really, really low temperatures, and it's really complicated when you look at the traditional way of kind of steeping it, which is literally taking boiling water and pouring it into a cup, and then pouring it into another cup, and then pouring it into another cup. And each time you transfer the water, the temperature goes lower, which is something that is very common, or like complicated, and sometimes can be a big barrier to entry when it comes to making it properly. It also really tends to be expensive because it's very intensive in terms of its processing, in terms of how it's grown. It's very specific to a lot of different things. So the more good it is, the more expensive it tends to be. In this case, the Yamashiro is typical to the David's tea, like the tea that I'm buying, because that's their cultivar. That's who they're buying it from. That's where the tea is spent and like grown and that kind of stuff, and where it's found. I'm just opening chat just to make sure that, you know, stuff doesn't suck. We got a couple new followers, so thank you so much for that. So, cultivar is where it's cultivated variety. It's where you're going to find the tea and where it was grown and how it's grown. Like, a lot of things matter in the growth of tea, like things like altitude and temperature and humidity and barometric pressure. That all affects how the tea is grown and how it works. So it's really important to, you know, differentiate that, depending, like, you know, one Gyokuro is not the same as another Gyokuro. So moving on to the next slide, how it's grown. This is like the most important part of the tea. This tea is grown under the full sun, like normal plants. However, once it's kind of a couple weeks from picking, they will cover it with like a bamboo mat, which is more traditional, or just like a plastic tarp with some holes punched in it. And essentially it is grown inside the shade for a couple weeks. So essentially it is grown like that before it's picked. Because of the shade, photosynthesis, like the light that's coming from the sun, that you don't get as much of it in the plant, which means that the growth is slowed. The plant realizes this and they think, hey man, we just got all this sunlight for the first couple, you know, weeks or months of our growth. Where'd all that sunlight go? So what it does is that the plant actually struggles for light. It doesn't adapt quite yet. It adapts by wanting more sunlight. So it releases chemicals inside the plant that makes it want to grow more. Once picked, it is steamed and then dried and then left for months in order to kind of dry out, let all the chemicals work within the tea in order to get a specific type of taste profile once it comes out of this processing. Usually with Gyokuro, because it is more higher quality, you are going to get more tips of the tea leaves, shoots of the tea leaves that are younger, that haven't been on the branches longer, and essentially that contributes to the processing cost and why it's so expensive, because you have to have a specific, growth operation for Gyokuro. You can't just grow tea in a specific way, process it in like an arbitrary way, and then you have the tea. You have to grow and process it in a very arbitrary way, which is just like, wow. This is a picture of how the tea is going to look when it's grown. You can see obviously the mats on top of it that are limiting the sunlight. It isn't grown in complete darkness, but at the same time, not as much sunlight as you'd normally get. This is in Japan, obviously. It's grown on the side of a hill, so you have to kind of like figure out what teas are going to be, what teas are going to get more sunlight, that kind of stuff. Like I said, the tips are kind of where a lot of the caffeine comes from and a lot of the flavoring comes from. So as the tea grows on and gets grown, you know, that you're going to either hand pick or machine pick these teas, and you're going to try to get the tips from them. Bringing this all together, this is just the last slide I got going. Someone's in the chats mentioned this is more information about tea than any person could possibly need. I love it. This is the last slide, I promise. Gyokuro is high in umami due to its amino acid theanine, which just comes from how it's cultivated, so it contributes to the taste. Tannin contributes to its astringency, so it's like a weird fuzzy feeling when you're drinking it. It's kind of weird, but it tastes good, trust me. It's fairly caffeinated, but less so in coffee, doing the picking of the tips of the plants and the otherwise young shoots. And essentially, it is a very green tasting tea like you get from a supermarket. But it kind of has all these extra qualities, and it's just like this smoothness that like contributes to how expensive it is. So we're gonna get out of this, and we're gonna go back to my camera here for a second. Please let this work. Awesome, cool. So what we're gonna do here is this is where the first kind of camera transition happens. And whoops, I'm sorry. We're actually going to, I got a light and I got some white paper. And we're going to take some of this tea, pour it out on the white paper, and look at what it looks like before we start brewing it. So This is the first kind of transition that I hope works a little bit better than I planned it would. Hey, you can wave at yourselves a little. We're going to bring this webcam down. We're going to center it there. We're going to do a little bit of editing of our webcam here. Mostly just because we're going to be turning on a light that you guys will be able to see a little bit better. And the webcam will sadly automatically configure itself to avoid this light, so we need to keep it from zoom. And we gotta turn the auto focus on. Sadly, I would love to not turn the auto focus on, but this is we're gonna have to mess with the exposure just a little bit. Cool. So there's my hand, as you can see. We're gonna set it there just for a few seconds in order to get the focus going. Focus. Nice. There's my hairy hand. Anyways, we're going to be looking at Gyokuro Yamashiro from David's Tea. Unlike regular green tea, Gyokuro Yamashiro, literally J-Dew, is shaded prior to plucking, so it's dark, extra energizing, and extremely rare outside of Japan. We actually have a full tea camera here now. Looking at David's Tea's instructions, you're going to steep 3/4 tablespoons per 240 milliliters of water. We're going to steep 2 to 3 minutes in 80 degrees Celsius water. So this is imported by David's Tea. It's a Canadian company. I love them. They're great. I hope they give me a sponsorship for this stream because that'd be amazing. Someone is pounding tea. Kettle cam, more like thigh cam. Yeah, my lovely pasty thighs are going. So okay, we are opening this lovely bag of tea and we're going to pour some out. Oh, snap. I forgot to transition over to the full camera. There we go. So we're going to actually turn this off studio mode. Cool. So we're going to dump a little bit out here. And then we're going to shake it up in order to just flatten it a little bit. And then we're going to mess with the webcam again just so you guys can understand like some of the, some of the color. Because that's probably the thing that I like most about it is the color of the thing. Something I really wanted to emphasize with this stream was, like, I wanted to kind of Bob Ross it. Like, I wanted to be very kind of chill with this and give you an idea of what this tea looks like. So, okay, we're going to zoom in just a little bit. We're going to mess with the exposure just a tiny bit. Focus, please. Web camera. Please focus. Come on, camera. There we go. Okay, so essentially, as you can see here, I've shaken this down a little bit. It's still a little too late. We're going to just bop this down one little bit. Okay. So my chosen implement of choice in order to try some of this stuff out is going to be a pen. I'm also going to grab another set of tea just for comparison's sake. So 1 second. Okay. So I'm back. So this is Gyokuro once we like kind of spread it out. And essentially you can understand it looks like grass. It looks very, very, very like flat. That's something that I've noticed compared to other kinds of teas is that it's very flat. There's not a lot of like curl to it. It's not dry. And that's something that green teas characteristically are different from things like black teas and other things, is that they tend to be very healthy. They have a lot of oxidation in them. They're very hydrated. It's like you're taking them off the vine, you're processing them a little bit. Like we said, there's steaming involved. And it's just very flat. It's very kind of just, you know, like I said, flat. So we're going to look at some other types of teas just for comparison's sake. We're going to kind of shove this over to the side. Okay, so we're going to take two other teas that we're going to be looking at actually in a couple weeks. And we are going to look at, this is called Nepal Black, again from David's Tea. So this is the kind of other end of spectrum here. This is Nepal Black. This is another kind of straight tea, like I said. It isn't a blend. It doesn't have any extra ingredients in it. It's just pure tea. So we're going to look at the comparison between these two teas. So as you can see with Gyokuro, it's very fine. It's very, It's very fine. Like I said, it's very flat. It's very grass-like. There's a lot of just like little bits in here. Whereas when we look at the Nepal Black, it's so much more dry. It's so much more crinkly. Like you could snap it in half if you really wanted to. And that's just because there's more oxidization. It's been dried out a lot longer, and that contributes to how it tastes and how it's flavored. So we're going to be looking at this the next time we do this. We're going to be looking at this tea a little bit more the next time we do this stream. And the hilarious thing about this is, like, I look like I'm a drug dealer because I'm cutting up different types of tea with a credit card. The last thing that I wanted to look at actually was Tetley. We're going to be actually opening up a tea bag. We're showing cups for views. That's how we're going to get this going off here. So a Tetley tea bag is literally, a filter in a bag. However, there's a couple different things that I don't like about it. Is one, the tea leaves are very tightly compressed together. However, like with tea, you need to have a certain surface area. Like when you're steeping things, you want to let the water touch as much of the tea as possible. So I have things like this. This is my tea strainer. I'm gonna have to lift the webcam a little bit, and it basically lets the tea sit inside that chrome bucket, essentially inside of a cup, and it gives the water a lot of room in order to touch the tea. Sorry, the webcam's going a little bit out of focus. We're going to look at the bags again, and we're going to tear it open. And this is probably something that you guys have never really done before, at least with dry tea. Maybe with wet tea once it comes apart. But when we pour it out on the paper, what do we notice about the tea? We notice that it's almost like dust. It is filings. It is essentially not leaves, just little ground up bits of tea. And something I learned while I was at a tea seminar, because I'm the type of nerd that goes to a tea seminar. I swear I've gotten laid at least once in my life, ladies and gentlemen. Tea, when you look at like Tetley versus like loose leaf teas, Tetley is usually taking at least like 15 or 20 types of tea and putting it in this bag in order to get a specific flavor. And there's little things like crystallized honey and just other stuff. This is called Cleanse, lemon balm, and honey with elderflowers. So this is an herbal. However, the finer this tea, there's not as much surface area that you can actually get water onto, which means that it's kind of low quality. And to be honest, it's Tetley. They want to sell mass quantities of the same type of tea, the same taste of tea, over and over and over again. So essentially, when we look left to right here, we have Gyokuro, which is a really, really high-grade tea. We're going to move our light a little bit. Maybe we can turn the light up just a little bit and see what happens. No, I was already at max. We look at Gyokuro, and we can see that it's very uniform. Everything just looks a lot cleaner. And when we bunch it up, it kind of just like looks very grass-like. It looks like it just came off the vine. With this, it looks like, with the Tetley anyway, it looks like it's just like a very kind of, it looks like the filings of the rest of the tea that they couldn't sell. And that's kind of what bag tea is sometimes. I'm not saying it's a total bad thing, because sometimes you just want simple tea, but other times not so much. And then we look at the Nepal Black, which, to be honest, the reason why it's like this is because of the way that it's prepared. It still has a ton of surface area for water to hit, but at the same time it's very dry, it's very curled, and then when you actually throw water on it and let it steep, it unfurls like a leaf. It almost looks like spinach once you've taken it out. So we're going to put this back into a cup, and we are going to switch the webcam back around, because we're going to do some things before we actually steep some Gyokuro. This is going to be difficult in order to do. So again, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not lining up cocaine with a credit card. All I'm doing is throwing the tea back in its little tiny cup. We have a lovely 15 viewers tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I wish I could do, like, the thing is that I want to contact David's in order to possibly get a referral code or some kind of wish list, because they don't have anything like that set up. So it's a little bit difficult in order to get people to like buy me tea and shit. So the easiest thing that I can really say is just like toss me some money on the donation bar that's underneath the what's it called? The stream. and that money can be used for like a GoPro or something like that. I have 2 very high quality webcams, to be honest. This is just the best I got at the moment. So, I also... Okay, I'm just trying to think of how to throw this out without wasting tea. So, we're going to take our Gyokuro bag, and we're going to put this back in there. And then we'll just throw out the piece of paper with the tea on it, or with the Lipton on it. Again, apologies, this is going to look really silly, but... Actually, why don't we just throw this out, and then... Okay. This is where the separation gets hard, because these are both very fine teas, as you can understand. Okay, we're going to move this a little bit, just to give me a little bit more room to work. I'm sorry for the camera being elsewhere. I'm just literally... Ooh, shit. Okay, we're good. This is, if you've ever watched me play Dota 2 before, this is very similar to my wording there, is I'm very curse heavy, and I'm trying to be better, because this is obviously family stream. Okay. So, all the Lipton tea is now off. We have the Gyokuro back alone. So we're essentially going to be doing 2 things with it. Before we actually get to steeping, we're going to be doing a little small thing on kettle maintenance. And I know that sounds, oh my god, does that sound lame? But at the same time, it's fun times. Okay, so maybe we should just do a little bit of an introduction to my tea maker. Let's do that. We're going to move the webcam. Oh god, all the settings messed up. Okay, we need to turn off the autofocus. We need to take the zoom off. Exposure goes back to 6. Gain goes to like 200. Boom. And then we switch scenes back over to T-Home. E-Home, T-Home. So I have... My mic is also going to be a bit weird here, so I'm going to move my mic. I'm going to start holding it. I hope this doesn't mess up. We're going to just put it on the table. That's a little bit better. That's a little easier. Okay, so we have both the Kettle cam, which is like over here, and the tea camera, my regular web camera. So I've got 3 jugs here, and one of them is my tea maker. We also have a jug of just spring water, which we're going to use, or not spring water, it's just filtered water that I have through my fridge. And then I have my family's kettle, which someone wanted to... I thought it would be actually cool to kind of do like a little bit of thing on kettle maintenance. And I know that sounds really stupid, but I'm going to bring this up to the webcam. I'll let you understand what I want to fix here. So looking at this kettle, look at like the grime that's on the bottom of it, you know? And if you have hard water, or you have calcium in your water, or if you're just, the more rural you're kind of getting, the more likely you're going to kind of have this like buildup that's really gross on your kettle. And sometimes, you know, that can go on for months or years, and it kind of just looks gross. So it can affect how your tea tastes. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to show you how to fix that very easily, very simply, and very cheaply. So sadly, a lot of companies will try to sell you something in order to get you to clean your kettle like that. But I have the cheapest and easiest ingredient, which is white vinegar. White vinegar, like a lot of other things, is kind of a good fixer for these kind of situations. I have just a little tiny bit left, but essentially you want to just have like a very water-heavy vinegar mix. So I'm going to pour a lot of vinegar into this, the rest of it actually, because I don't have that much left. So I'm going to have to buy some more white vinegar. I typically do this every 2 or 3 weeks, or when everything gets a little bit grimy. So we're going to throw the vinegar in there. It smells a little bit, but then we're just going to fill the rest up with water. There we go. Oh, this is heavy because it's water. We're just going to fill like basically 1.5 liters. There we go. So keep in mind how gross this kettle was before. So, because we're going to be looking at it once it's done. So basically, vinegar, water. We're going to set that on, and we're going to, let it go. We're going to be moving the microphone just back over here. My tea maker is pretty expensive. If you type in !T into the chat, you'll get a link to it on Amazon. Basically, I saved up a lot of money for this thing because it has a number of features that, as a tea lover, I really, really enjoy. We're gonna do some stuff here. 1 second. We're gonna see if we can zoom in. It might not be able to, but if we can, hey, that'd be nice. Cool. Hey, that worked out pretty well. All right. Maybe not, but whatever. We might just have to hold this here. Okay, so when I turn on my tea maker, it has. Oh, that's because the light. 1 second. Turn off some of this. There we go. So the most important part of this tea maker is that I can independently put the temperature that I want it to boil at. So again, for this tea that we're going to make, we want to put it to, I don't know why it's doing this. I have to turn it off first. That explains a lot. We're going to turn it down to 85, or 80, excuse me. And then we're going to set the brew time for, what was it? We're going to set the brew time for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So essentially what happens is when I hit the T button, it will boil water up to the temperature. It'll boil water to the temperature that I want it to be at. And more importantly, it has an actual basket. So this is where we fix the webcam again to show off. This is hopefully where it's going to be for the rest of the stream. So, oh boy, that's right at my dick. Excuse me. My modesty. Literally right at my dick. I apologize. Requin, thanks so much for the donation, homie. Really appreciate it. That's right at my junk. Sorry. And of course there's a Twitch admin here. Twitch Cops. Canthus, thank you so much for checking it out. Okay, so going back to what I was going to talk about. What makes this tea is that it has a basket. I'm going to turn the light off, then turn the other light back on. Whoop. Yes, that's the rest of my basement. So we're gonna look at this. This is a basket. So what it does is that I have a lid for it. It forms a waterproof seal when you snap it in. And then inside my actual kettle, you can see it when I turn it. This little part here, this bar going up and down, it's actually magnetized. So what happens is here on this is magnetized. So we stick it to the bar, and then when the kettle reaches the temperature that I've set, it'll lower the tea basket down into the tea or into the water. It'll steep for however long I set it for, and then it'll go back up. Which is why I have a tea kettle cam in the first place, because I want you guys to see that. It's really cool. So we're going to pop this off. If you guys can already hear, I'm not sure if you guys can hear in the background, but the kettle that we're cleaning is already going in the background. Tipping for more junk shots. Wink. Okay, so I have... Actually, no. We're not going to take all that tea that we put on that paper, because that's a lot of tea. And like I said, this is the most expensive tea I own. I got it... David's Tea basically has a rewards program that if you spend up to $100, like every dollar you spend gives you a point, and if you get $100 or 100 points spent before the end of their period, they will give you 50 grams of any tea in the store. And I was going to get something really cheap, and they were like, hey, why don't you just get something really expensive instead, because it's on us. So how long is a kettle going to last with mechanical parts like that? What's it called? Brevet, who sells the kettle, they have a very long warranty on it, and they also sell replacement parts, which is pretty sick. So they have separate kettles that you can buy a separate kettle from the base and that kind of stuff. So that's good. So I have this thing that I bought from David's. It's called their Perfect Teaspoon, and I use that with air quotes. Basically, it's like a little more than a teaspoon, but I'm gonna take basically one and a half scoops of that and put it in my basket. I also do a small thing where I will shake it out a little bit. I will shake the basket over something like a piece of paper or over a garbage can, just to get all the little filings out, because I don't want to have them in my tea. I really don't want to. So I'm going to see if I can bring this up again. I don't know if you guys can see this. More junk cam. This is like all the little filings and stuff like that. How do I adequately show this? This is like all the little filings and stuff that just came out of that, see? So, sorry, junk cam. Oh, okay. No, sorry, I was looking at the stream. For some reason, my stream isn't going, which sucks. Okay, so we're gonna, you can see the tea inside. We're gonna snap this on. And again, watertight seal, which is really nice. We're going to go over to the tea maker. And we actually have to fill it up with water first, so I'll be right back. Some hardcore kettling, man. Extreme kettling. That's the best type. Okay. The important thing, if you're ever going to do this thing with cleaning your kettle, never, ever, ever stick your nose or breathe in the steam. Because it's not only water steam, it's vinegar steam. Or steam, excuse me. So it'll basically like burn out the insides of your nose, and not permanently. It doesn't cause any permanent damage or anything like that. But man, if you don't want to smell like burnt flesh for a while, don't do that. It's a terrible idea. I've done it before. It sucks. It's like you think, oh yeah, it's so clean and everything like that, and then I'm just gonna take it out and see, you know, whatever, and then you get a blast of vinegar steam in your face, and it sucks. Lurkader in the chat says, don't inhale vinegar steam. Medical professional here, don't do that. So listen to her, not me. I knew from experience, but she knows because she's paid to. We're going to pour some water inside the kettle. We're going to actually make a decent amount here today. This kettle actually makes up to 1.5 liters of tea. And if you want to use it, it makes up to 1,200 milliliters, which is 1.2 liters of tea. But if you want to make more or just use it to boil water, you can just take the basket out and boil water as normal, which is sick. I ended up using it that more often anyway, mostly just because it's a hassle to clean sometimes. You got to take the basket out, clean all that stuff, clean out the actual kettle itself. They recommend that you don't immerse the kettle in water because it'll mess with all the internals and that kind of stuff. So it's a fairly cleaning intensive process, and I don't like that. I'm lazy, so... we're going to fill it to about its max, just so you guys can get an idea. This is actually going a lot better than I thought it would be. I thought I would just, like, have set something on fire by now, you know. Okay. So, again, we're going to take our basket, and if you look on the tea cam, or the kettle cam, rather, you can see that when I put it in, it's just going to snap there. So, again, like I said, we have it for 80 Celsius. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. However, before we do that, I want to actually set up a poll in my chat for what I'm going to drink the tea out of, because we have three teacups that I can show off to you guys, and I'm going to create a straw poll here, and then I'll show you what the tea looks like, what the teacup looks like, and then we can you guys can vote on it. Straw poll me. Excuse the look at my ear. That's like the worst part. Okay, so the poll options are going to be glass, ceramic, and bubble teacups. Create poll. Okay, so I'm going to show off the options, and then I'm going to link them in the chat. So be right back. 1 second. Okay. 1, 2, and where's the last one? There's the last one. Okay. I have these literally all around my office area, so... We have three kettles, or 3 teacups that you guys can vote for. We have glass, double-walled, very comfortable to hold. You know, you guys can see the color. I'm going to be showing that off anyway, but we have a smaller bubble teacup from David's Tea, porcelain, black outside, pretty sick. The last one is something I got at a fair. I got at the Toronto Tea Festival, ceramic, very rustic, let's put it that way, very kind of like homey. And when we do that, we're going to just put it in the straw pool, and we're going to let the straw pool go as the tea is steeping. And then when the tea is done, we will see what we can vote for, or like see what the vote results are. So importantly, we're going to just hit the tea button on the tea maker, and then it's going to take the steeping temperature or the brew temperature and the steeping time, and then it's going to apply it. So we're going to hit tea. You guys are going to be able to see the kettle bubble, obviously, and then you're going to see it go down, the tea get brewed, go back up. So we're gonna go back to remember that kettle. Remember how gross that kettle was. The kettle is done brewing. I don't know if you can see it. You can't really. But at the bottom, all that grime that was there before is gone. It's just completely gone, which is sick. However, the grime around the entrance, like the sieve, if you will, to keep things inside of it, that's not going to be killed by the vinegar as easy. However, it is good to loosen it up so you can just scrub it away. So again, you're not going to want to breathe in any of the steam. In order to get rid of the vinegar smell, you're going to pour it out, fill it up with water, boil it 2 or 3 more times, and then essentially you've got a clean kettle, which is sick. So, again, I did that last night with my tea maker. I did that last night with the tea maker so that you guys wouldn't have to see that. I could, explain it. So this is pure, clean, and like the first tea that I've made in a really long time in the tea maker. So, the kettle, other kettle's going back down there, and now we're back. So, as you can see, this is where things kind of get a little bit boring because I can't exactly... Matt, how in the world are you not calling this Twitch TV? That's a good idea. I think next time I'm going to use that. A PHT. Best Twitch T pun ever. Terrible. Okay, we're looking at the results here. Glass is clearly in the lead. 6 votes. 1 vote for ceramic and 2 votes for bubble. I was going to think, you know what? Glass really does seem like the no-brainer because you guys will be able to like see stuff. However, I was just like, you know what? Let's just create a little bit of an interactive element with Twitch and see what happens. So I decided to open it up. I'm personally Team Glass. I have not voted. I'm impartial. Throwing out the rest of the tea, all my white papers. I don't know, man. So again, we're just waiting. So how are you guys liking the stream so far? I'm having a lot of fun. I thought I would be stressing out a whole lot more, but I am. I'm actually really enjoying it. Let's look at some of the people that have become followers. We're gonna go to twitchalerts.com, and we're gonna thank some people. Shit. Okay. It's Twitch Alert stream. Alright, 37 minutes ago. Recwine, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you so much for the $3 donation. JCSE Win. Thank you so much for following. Bubblegum Bear, thanks again. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do these on because it's like A, I run out of tea really quickly, and B, I have a feeling that the more like scarce it is, the better it'll be. I don't know if it'll be something I do per week or per month, 2 weeks, that kind of thing. I actually just took all the research. All the research was done maybe like an hour before the stream, so I'm glad it's kind of working out so far. Like I said, if you guys feel like donating, money will either go to improving the tea stream or to buying more tea. That's always good. So yeah, what else is going on here? There were some Twitch notifications earlier that I kind of missed. Recwine has tipped $3. Thank you. I could have sworn that there was more followers. Garvey's here too. Garvey, if you're still around, thank you so much for stopping by. Show some leg, Matt. Dear Lord, I'm not that kind of boy. I'm not that kind of boy. Loves Lavelle's Neon. Thank you so much for following. Really appreciate it. I'm trying to get my channel. I'm trying to get my channel partnered eventually, and normally what I play on this stream is a lot of Dota, a lot of kind of strategy games. I've been playing Yakuza 4, which is pretty sick, so that kind of gives you an idea of like my tea preference. Let's put it that, or not tea preference, excuse me, game preference. I'm very big into RPGs, very big into story mode, very big into kind of esports. I've been working in esports for around 3 years now. We're actually getting really close to boiling. We're at 80 degrees, so look, as you can see, look at that shit. So we're at 80 degrees. You can see the basket just lowering ever so slowly. And you can probably, I'm not sure if, I might have to mess with the white balance and stuff a little bit, but you can kind of see already that it's starting to get colored green, which is pretty sick. Are you afraid that you'll do it too much, you'll lose in T-Rest? Ha ha ha. Maybe I can host increasingly exotic locations, or T-Bet, TP, ha ha ha. Alright, so we're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at the second webcam here for a second, and we're gonna see if we can like adequately capture the color. So that's something that I really wanted to do. True color, apply? Question mark? White balance. Turn that off. What am I doing here? No auto white balance. Yeah, okay. There you go. So this is where we Bob Ross the stream up a little bit. We're going to be steeping for another 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then for me, I'm a big wuss. I am a big wuss when it comes to drinking tea, mostly because I burn my mouth very easily. So usually what happens is I wait a very long time for it to cool down, because if I sip it too much, I just tend to blah. So that's something, it's almost like you need to burn your mouth on purpose in order to make it a little bit more tougher, which is something that I don't really see the point of. Let's put it that way. Tea is, for me, is not something that's particularly elitist. It's more of just that it's something that you enjoy because you do. It's very, very low maintenance, because obviously this setup is very low maintenance. It's very low investment. Like, the only reason I got that tea maker was I was very tired of trying to time steeping times by myself, or trying to do steeping temperature. Temperature was something I never dealt with. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to get more expensive teas that deserve to be enjoyed in a specific way, why not just get this? Because I use it almost every day. So I don't know. I'm very non-elitist about it. I'm very like, hey, just enjoy it because you do. It's a very low investment hobby if you can find tea shops that like have things that you like. And if you find a nice tea shop, you can always go in almost every day and find something that you haven't tried. So it's very easy to like try new things without having like a half-dranken bottle of wine that you ended up really hating, or trying to cook something that just you hate and then the ingredient that's really expensive goes bad. So for me, like tea lasts forever if you store it properly. So in that regard, I like it like that. I may want to apply a tea filter. Man, I hate puns so much, but at the same time, I like you guys. Thank you so much for having fun with this. So we just finished. So as you can see, the basket raises itself out of the tea kettle. It beeps, which is nice. Gives me an idea of while it's done. And the other cool thing is that I don't want to adjust the webcam just to show you guys, but the tea maker actually keeps it warm for almost an hour, which is sick, because for me, if I make a mass amount of tea like this, I'm not drinking it right away. So what it does is it will keep it warm and keep it at kind of the temperature that you want it to. I'm going to fix the white balance in here, mostly just because it's a little yellow, and I want to make sure that you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about when it comes to the color of the tea. That's better. Bob Ross. Okay, so looking at the tea results, glass wins, bubble in second, ceramic, sorry rec wine. We'll maybe do that next time. These were literally the teacups that I had on hand. So we're going to take our glass mug. We are going to full tea webcam it. And we are going to grab... So as you can see, remember when I said Jade Dew? It kind of looks like piss. Kinda. But at the same time, it's like this nice yellow-green. So we're going to pour it. Ugh. This is actually pretty heavy. I'm a little bit of a weakling. So you can see nice steam coming out of that shit. Look at that stuff. That's so good. Okay, so I'm going to put that back over there. There's only no missed tea aches. There's a happy little axe tea dents. Terrible. You guys are trying too hard. Tea home. There we go. Like e home. So, this is actually kind of like where I plan to like finish everything off. To be honest, it's like I gotta wait for it a little bit to cool down, but this is kind of where I'm gonna open up the floor a little bit to anyone who wants to ask any questions or anything else like that. Because to be honest, that's what we got going. We got the tea stream, or sorry, we got the kettle. We got the tea actually brewed. We learned a little bit about Gyokuro. I guess the only other things Garvey wanted to know today. He wanted to know why the tea temperature matters. And essentially, he said that he got a kettle that you can control the temperature, and he wanted to know why it mattered so much for tea steeping. And the idea comes back to what we were talking about with oxidation and how the teas are kind of prepared. Some teas, like I said, are not oxidized at all, so it's almost like they're coming straight off the vine, and they're almost like fresh picked produce. So what happens when you put boiling water on top of those produce is it's like you're cooking it. it's like you're making a soup out of your tea, because it still has its kind of life in it. More dried out teas kind of work a little bit better when it comes to adding hotter water, just because it absorbs the water a little bit better. It doesn't affect the flavor as much. But something like this can even be brewed, like in some ceremonies, something like this can be brewed at as low as 40 Celsius, which is half as hot as I have it here. Just because like the longer it sits and like the kind of more it kind of blooms a little bit affects the way that it tastes. So that's kind of where the temperature comes in and why it really matters. To me though, I think that steeping temperature tends to be a little bit more important in preparing tea than temperature is, because like steeping time, it's like if you leave a tea bag in a cup for 30 minutes or something like that, you are completely mangling how it's supposed to taste, because you're either going to make it too bitter, too caffeinated, too whatever. It's like, imagine leaving, I'm trying to think, like if coffee wasn't dissolved, I'm trying to think of like what an equivalent is, but it's like you're leaving something that provides flavor inside of water that you're flavoring way too long. So essentially it just means that you're over flavoring something, and you're going to end up crossing that line where it gets too gross. Let's put it that way. Let's see, what do we got in here? Yes, I did that. I spent a lot of money on some tea and went home and made it. The water was so hot that it ruined the tea. Exactly. I just wanted to say that this was genuinely really delightful and fun. I like them being bite-sized. Essentially, that's what I wanted. I wanted like an hour, because to be honest, I can't do a marathon about tea, because the more tea that you drink, the more it kind of affects your palate. The more that it affects, it's like, imagine if you were doing a chili eating contest or something like that, and you were eating like 5 types of chili. Whatever tea or whatever chili you ate, like fifth, like last, would essentially be tainted by all the other tea that you ate. So it's kind of, I really wanted to keep these small and episodic, and I'm going to make it into a YouTube. I'm going to put the VOD on YouTube, because there's a lot of people who wanted to see it. I got a really good response from like esports in general and Twitter and that kind of junk about it, and I was really happy, and it kind of gave me the motivation to do this kind of thing, because I think tea is one of those things, like I said, it's very easy to get into. It's a very easy to find gateways to. You have things like bubble tea, and you have things like Arizona iced tea that worked for me. You have things like, going to a if you're hungover and you don't want to drink coffee, you can drink tea, or you go to a hotel or something and they have tea available. It's like, it's something that is ubiquitous in our daily lives, but it isn't something that people take their time to think about and to learn more about. So even me learning about this, learning about the tannins and learning about how umami works, it's like, that's stuff that I looked up on my own just because like I want to know, not necessarily from a scholarly point of view, but I want to know about just like how it affects different things. So I can't actually do what I want. This is the angle I want. I want the like, hey, we're just sitting together and having a little bit of coffee. So Canthus, thanks so much for the follow. Excuse me. Excuse me. Can you talk some more about the convention for tea? Okay, we can actually we're going to go back into the browser view, because I took a lot of photos at the Toronto Tea Convention. The Toronto Tea, I think it was called the Toronto Tea Festival, excuse me, not a convention. We're going to go back into the full browser view, and then we're going to go to my Flickr, where all the stuff is. Flickr, I have to like, if you guys saw a picture of how this is laid out, it's like right now, my webcam usually is on my desk and it's on a tripod, but right now I can actually take the other T thing and show you. Right now, if you look at the T-cam, this is a tripod in front of my desk. So if I want to go type, I have to reach all the way back here. So essentially, this was the light that I turned on. If we can thing, it's on a Gorilla Pod. So that's how I showed you the T was right here. But okay, we're gonna put that back on here. Cool. So far we've been keeping warm for 7 minutes. We're going to go over to the browser. We're going to look at Matt Demers on Flickr. These are from Pound 2016, which was a Smash tournament I went to a couple weeks ago. Shoutouts to Lurkaderp, she was there as well. So Toronto Tea Festival 2016. These were some photos I did on my Flickr. Essentially, it was... Actually, be right back. 1 second. Sorry, I needed something to illustrate a point. Ugh. I need to get it from my bedroom. We're going to go back to the webcam view for like 2 seconds. So, essentially what they did is it was like $25, I think, for a 2-day ticket. And it's almost like a comic convention only for tea. So, what happened is if you paid for the full 2 days, they give you this, which is essentially a shot glass. This is a tiny, tiny teacup. And you could go to the entire floor, and we'll see if we can like just put these in a slideshow or something like that. Full screen this shit. You had so many vendors that were there, and you could taste the tea. You could look at how the tea was presented like this. Actually, I'm going to take the opportunity to move my keyboard back. I'm hoping the tea is going to be cold enough to drink by the time the stream is over. Anyways, Toronto Tea Festival. This is, again, more tea. They typically had them in these cups like this, so you could kind of see what the consistency was like. A lot of things from China, a lot of things from Taiwan. This was very much like it was at the Toronto Reference Library. It was like a comic convention set up essentially with an artist alley. You got to see different things. A lot of different people like touting the health benefits. I'm not really into that. I'm all about the taste. This is a Korean tea festival. They had a lot of people. They had Korean, Chinese, and Japanese tea festivals that you could watch. This lady was beautiful. Like, her dress is just like amazing. These are some of my favorite photos that I've ever taken, mostly just because like I have a crush on this lady. She is beautiful. And just like seeing how different cultures look at tea and how they prepare it as part of like ceremony was really good, was really cool. Like, look how cute she is, Jesus. So just going through the different, like the ceremony, essentially, I have some video as well, but I don't have it anywhere on the internet. Again, just more ways. I didn't buy from these guys. I don't remember why, but essentially they just had different bits of tea there for consumption. You got them to pour you a little bit in your tea shot glass thing, and you can basically taste a lot. These were cool. This is actually tea in a cake. They get steamed, they get pressured. It's almost like a wheel of cheese. These were 9 and 15 years old, so it's aged just like wine, sometimes for a very long time. Essentially what you'll do is, instead of getting them in a bag, you open the cake and then you break some off, and then that's what you put in your tea kettle. This was kind of like, this guy was really entertaining. He was just kind of like making a personality of himself. Again, a lot of tea wares and stuff like that. These are the bricks as they're broken up. They look very earthy, obviously, but at the same time, it's like that's how they're stored. Again, it's almost like a cake. It's like a cookie. More tea. This was, this kind of aesthetic, the very British high tea kind of thing, was not very present at this festival. It was just like this one booth. But a lot of just like tea wares and stuff like that. This was the stuff at the Japanese tea ceremony, which is pretty cool. Again, this is some Taiwanese stuff. There's, you can see it. This one has a cup in it, but this one doesn't. It's like a hand that holds your tea for you. Again, a lot more tea wares, a lot more. They would make jugs that you could just literally go around with a shot glass and be like, hey, can I try some? And then hopefully they'd want you to buy some afterwards, obviously, but really fun. That's the end of that. Let's go back to chat and see what's up. Sorry, that thing is straight in my face. The panda set was adorable. I love it. Korean ceremonial dress. I forget the name. Hanbok. That's cool. What's the most obscure tea flavor you've ever had? Oh boy. I don't know. I have a coffee flavored tea, and me and caffeine don't really go along well together, so it's kind of ironic. I've had a tea called Pink Flamingo, which is just like almost like pink lemonade, but it's like distinctly tea. I have a tea called O Canada, which again is sold by David's, and it's maple. It is the mapliest red tea I've ever tasted, and it's so good. I have a pumpkin chai, which is like, chai is like when you take baking spices and put them into tea. Oh boy, my tea flavor snack combination. I don't know. I just like tea in the sense that I love winter, and winter's like my favorite season, and I'm on crack obviously because a lot of people hate winter, but I love winter because it is like, when you drink tea, it is very calming. I love just like simple green tea with honey and just like seeing the steam last forever. What else? That panda set was adorable. It was. And I think my tea is actually very I do have chocolate chili chai. I have chocolate chili chai here too, and that's probably a good. That's a good one as well. David's has that, and that's like one of the few caffeinated teas I really like. This tea, by the way, is like full. Like, remember I was talking to you about the umami and like the fuzziness. Like, that's what this tastes like right now, and it's so good. It's just like, I always choose the worst timing for these kind of things because it's spring. It's like supposed to be very warmer, and you don't typically drink warmer drinks during the spring and summer. But today it's raining. Today it's very like overcast. It's kind of cold. I'm in Canada, so this kind of tea is very good. Let's put it that way. Winter is best in my opinion. Curling up in a fluffy blanket with a warm tea drink. Love it. Or a warm drink, excuse me. I'm a big fan of that myself. That's why I make this in mass quantities. Some of the teapots that I have are specifically made for consuming in mass quantities. I found this pot at a David's Tea as they were discontinuing it, which I had to hunt for it because there was only a couple left in the city. And I don't know where the lid is right now, but this is like 1.5 liters sterling steel teapot. And I usually have it with the bubble glass. I'll just drink little bits of it. It has a giant tea, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Carriage, where you can just like put tea in there, put it in your pot, and then once it's done steeping, you just take the entire thing out. So it's pretty good. Again, I also, because I am a nerd, I have these spoons, which are especially long, thin-handled spoons, because I have like things like this where regular spoons aren't long enough, so you need longer spoons. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. That's what I got for the first episode of Tea on Twitch. I kind of regret the tea time on Twitch. That was another name I was considering for it. But Gyokuro Yamashiro, very good, very expensive. It's one of those kind of treat yourself teas. I don't really drink it that often, but if I have to introduce people to tea, like if someone comes over to my place and says, hey, I want to try something. Usually it's one of two things, and I always base it on smell. I always give people a bunch of teas to smell, and whatever they choose, I usually make for them. But when I am given the choice, I usually go with this, mostly just because it's kind of like it's a sign that you're taking like expensive tea and you're honoring someone by making it. You're taking the time in order to make it properly and introduce themselves into something that you take seriously. And that's kind of why I chose it for this stream, was because I like tea a lot. It's a passion of mine, and for me, I usually take my passions and I turn them into work, like video games or comics or something like that. And that's usually something that kills my enjoyment of them a little bit. And tea is something that I enjoy, and I enjoy sharing with people, mostly just because, like I said, it's very simple. You just make them a drink, and they drink the drink, and if they don't like it, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. This is simple. It's fairly self-explanatory. Enough people know what tea is that you don't have to do any huge amount of education. And I don't know, you kind of just like find out little cool things about how people like develop this multi-billion-dollar worldwide operation, and why tea that is grown on terraces on the side of a mountain above the clouds like tastes different, and why people want that. So it's crazy. It's great, and I love it a lot. And once I saw Twitch, kind of gravitating towards the food kind of thing, I was like, you know what, let's just try this out. And I think it went really well. So I think I'm going to end this off. I am maybe going to do some gaming later, but if you like Dota 2, I urge you to follow this channel, because I do this thing called Better Dota, where I play Dota ranked, and I attempt to get better by meticulously crafting and analyzing and reflecting on how I play. And otherwise, I just play a lot of RPGs. I play some games like Overwatch when I am playing with my friends. I really encourage you guys to follow the channel. That'd be awesome. If you like what you're seeing here today and want to support it monetarily, you can either donate to the stream, where there's stuff underneath it, or you can check out my Patreon. My Patreon is at patreon.com/MattDemers. And I do all sorts of esports writing about the industry, about individual games, that kind of stuff. Photos, like you saw. I have some kick-ass rewards, and I tend to reward the people that become my patron very often. Essentially, I've been working in esports for around 3 years now, and trying to get partnered on Twitch, trying to do a lot more streaming, and just trying to like figure out a good place for myself in this crazy-ass industry. Thank you so much. If you're interested in my MMR, you can type !MMR. Someone just pointed out in the channel. But for now, I'm going to leave you with this. try out teas. Try out like different things, because you never really know what you're going to really enjoy and what's going to kind of like evoke a certain feeling for you. I know that now that I've done this for you guys, every time I drink this tea, I am going to remember this because it's fun. And that's kind of how tea works a little bit. You kind of imprint the memories of like what you have, like what you were experiencing at the time when you experienced like a tea you really, really enjoy. And then that kind of carries with you. And that's awesome. So, again, thank you so much for checking this out. Below my channel, besides all the stuff that I already mentioned, is all my social media. I will be posting when the next tea on Twitch is. But for now, thanks for watching.